Professor Bryn Brown's research shows that vulnerability fosters good emotional and mental health. It is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists to tell their honest and authentic stories. I am your host, Sarah Nyakeri, who happens to be a scientist, informal science communicator, and I help scientists create personal websites. If you want to support this show, go to www.patreon.com/thevulnerable-scientist. You can also follow this podcast on all social media platforms at TV Scientist Pod. So how was it like being in university?
Oh my God. You've just opened like a door of memories.
Yeah, that's what
For sure. I'll I'll start by saying it's my, I don't know what the verb would be. The most defining moment in my life, generally, I would say. And to answer your question of my experiences in campus, we are talking about JKUAT. JKUAT, some people know it as Juja Boys. It was mostly male dominated, but I think it's really changed a lot over time.
For those listeners who don't know, if you don't know, it's Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology.
Yes.
In Kenya. Okay.
Yes.
So it used to be
subdivide. Sorry? No, go on.
No, I was just, you're talking about the Juja Boys thing.
Juja Boys. Yeah, people used to refer it as Juja Boys because it was, I think JKUAT started as an engineering college. And you can imagine like engineering is predominantly male. And it was, so male population was higher than female for a long time. But I suppose now it should be equal now.
Okay.
But yes, so I mean, over time, people used to refer to JKUAT as Juja Boys. So anyway, at JKUAT, it's really interesting. Like when I think back to just generally my life and mostly focusing on my academic life, JKUAT was the defining moment in my academic career and my life in general. And to give you my story of JKUAT, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to break it into, let me call it academics. And then I'll talk about leadership. And then I'll talk about, and leadership, I'll do leadership and extracurricular activities, mostly sports. So I'll focus on sports. I did a lot of sporting activities at JKUAT. And then other extracurricular, which is friends and boyfriends.
Yes. Oh, we want those stories. Okay.
I know. So, and the reason why, okay, I will start with, let me start with academics because obviously I was admitted to JKUAT for academics.
Yeah.
Yes, and maybe my mom will listen to this podcast, so it's a safe place to start from. Academics. I joined JKUAT. Now remember, and my themes, like the way it's really interesting how my academic life has been. So you remember I joined Mercer Girls 298 and I was one of the students with lowest marks. Believe me or not, even with I was the best student in Kipkelion district. I had 80 points, A minus. In my class, in my mechanical class of 2010, it was 2010 to 2014. Regular students, it's called regular students or government sponsored students. I was one of the least actually in the class with those points.
Great.
Right? We had straight A students coming from all these national schools, Nairobi High, Sacho High, all Starehe Alliance. So I was in a class with super bright candidates, top cream of the country, and it was intimidating. When I look back to 2010, I was really intimidated. And at some point, I wasn't sure. At some point, actually, I wasn't sure if I I wasn't sure if if I had made a wise choice, mostly based on the fact that I thought it was going to be hard and maybe I would not handle it. And we were only 9 girls in a class of 80 students, and so I think that also made situation worse because I thought, okay, maybe this thing is not for ladies. But anyway, even with that, I was still I was very determined to I was very determined to do well, and my eyes were set on first class from day one. I did not know if it was going to be possible, but anyway, they tell us to
Wow.
shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
If you don't get to the moon, you can land on stars.
You're saying that you mentioned in the schools, like people had higher grades than you, and also they
Yes.
also, in addition to that, they came from national schools. Which school?
Yes.
What was the grade for your school according to this national whatever things?
Oh, my school is not national for sure.
It was
I'm not sure even if it's I would say
provincial.
maybe I'm not sure if it's even provisional. Is it provisional? Yeah, maybe provisional.
So
But our average grade was, I think, was it a 6? 6 or 7, or even less than that.
So that's
points average.
That's B. That's
or even less.
Or less than that. So
Yeah.
I just wanted people to feel, for a listener who doesn't understand what when you say Alliance and Starehe and comparing to Mercy Girls, they get a feel of that girl who is coming from a school in Kericho, and she did well, yes. According to the district, she's the top. But when she comes to Nairobi, when she comes to a big university in Kenya, she's in a class with people who come from higher schools and with better grades. And also, on top of that, she's a lady. And she's like one of the 9 chicks out of, I don't know, 71 boys?
80 something.
80 something
we
boys.
80 something in first year. No, we were the total. Oh yeah, sorry. So boys in class would be around 71 years because we were around 80 in total.
Yeah, so I can imagine still you set your goal to actually get a first class. You're still thinking, I need to get this first class when you're in first year. I'll continue from there.
All right. So that we're still on the topic of academics, and then we will go to leadership and sports, and then boyfriends later. Yeah. So anyway, so on the academics, I even don't know, like when we were chatting with my friends and they were asking me why was I striving for first class, and to be honest, I don't know, like, but one thing I wanted to do, I just realized how much my parents had put in me, how much confidence they had in me, and they showed it, like on their face. They were not faking it when they told me you've got what it takes. And when I passed after Form 4 exam, I remember my dad bought a phone for me, and that was a big deal. And my mom telling me, you see, I told you you had 298 just because of this and this. And for a kid, that confidence from your parents, from your guardians, it's everything. For sure, it's everything. And so first year, I wanted to do the same. Like I wanted to cruise through 5 years and produce the same kind of results, so that I see the same kind of pride in my parents' face. That was the number one motivating factor. Now, I didn't know like it was gonna do more than that, like make my parents proud. And also like opened doors, very many doors for me. And as we speak, I'm at MIT, and it's because of that.
Yeah.
It started from that first year, from that dream of mine in first year, that I was hoping to please my parents, but it did more than that. Yeah. So anyway, and I have to say that when I think back to first year, the confidence, and while I'm saying this, I'm trying to speak to someone who are doubting themselves, and most of the time it's a minority person in a group. In that case, we were fewer women than men, and so you would imagine that imposter syndrome, and that fear would be more in girls than in guys. At least that's what I would like to think. And for sure, if I use my example, I was so scared, and mostly just because I was in a class with like a sea of male faces, right? And there is one classmate actually who once asked me, innocently, actually, it's not like he meant anything bad, but for him, when I think back now, I don't blame him, and it's just because like him growing up, I don't think he had seen even me, like I'd never seen or interacted with a female engineer. I'd interacted with my brothers, but they are male. Now this was female trying to be an engineer. So this classmate of mine told me, Gladys, and he was really worried, like seriously worried, genuinely worried, and he was asking me, did you think clearly about this course? And I was like, I hesitated because it was a serious topic, and then I was like, yeah. And then he was like, were you forced to do it? I was
Oh my
like,
God.
no, I chose it. And then I asked him why. And he was like, just because I think it's a mistake, because my cousin, so his cousin, now he's telling me about the cousin who did mechanical engineering years ahead of us. And apparently his cousin told him that ladies don't make it past third year. Like they keep dropping. By third year, it's like only male class. So he was actually coming from a point of honest concern that this thing was not for a girl.
Yeah,
and it
but
did affect me. It
yeah.
affected me. Yeah.
Oh
So,
my
but
God.
anyway,
Hey.
the good thing is, and I thank God, because it's really hard. It's not an easy process to change courses. And even still, if I wanted to change a course, I did not know what else I wanted to do. But if it was easy to change a course and I had another alternative, I would have changed my course that first semester because I was really
From
scared.
that
So all the
question.
classes, from that question, all the classes that I attended after that, I was super aware of the fact that I'm an imposter in this class, and it's counting down. In year 1, year 2, year 3, I'm gone. But it's only, I think, at the end of year 1, when I looked at my transcripts, I was one of the top in class, maybe top 5 or top 10. I had I think 3 Bs and everything else A out of 16 course units.
Right.
And I knew, you know what, I might actually have a chance. Maybe second year will be tough, but let's just take one step at a time. So I bring up this story to say, just as a reminder, that the advice that we give people, and my friend was coming, I have to keep emphasizing that it was coming from an honest concern.
Place of concern.
Place of concern. And I have to emphasize, or I just have to remind us that when we, even us, even me, every time I give advice, even in this podcast, all the pieces of advice that I'll give, they are based off my lived experiences. And the fact that I've not seen someone doing something, it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder that if you are trying to break into a field that there are people are not used to seeing people like you breaking into, or if you're trying to accomplish something that people are not used to seeing people like you accomplishing, then it's okay. Like they will be concerned because they've never seen, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. Just to emphasize that, and I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned looking back.
Do you want to learn about the strategies for enrolling, thriving, and excelling in a PhD program? Dr. Gladys Ngetich has written a book on the PhD journey with lessons from various PhD students across the globe and from her lessons as an ex-Oxford PhD student. Dr. Gladys is now a postdoc researcher at MIT. For you to get a chance to get a free book, post your favorite podcast episode of the Vulnerable Scientist podcast on any social media account and tag the Vulnerable Scientist social media account with the hashtag The Vulnerable Scientist Book Giveaway. You can now pre-order the book on Amazon or as an ebook on Kindle, Kobo, Thalia, etc. You can get more information on this book on www.gladyschepkirui.com/books.